My name is Katherine Piper, and I'd like to welcome you to the 2010 English 116 Restaurant Panel at Yale University. For the past few months, our class has been reading and writing different works revolving around food. Perhaps our biggest contribution as a class has been collectively keeping an online blog on which we posted a foodie's map to New Haven, reviews of all the food carts in the local area, thoughts on readings, recipes, and an array of other food-related topics. To conclude this semester, we thought it would be interesting to hear about the restaurant business from New Haven restaurant owners Donna Curran of Zinc, Bun Lai of Miya Sushi, and Jason Sobocinski of Caeseus. Matt Walker will also be our moderator today. To begin, could you each tell us a little bit about your restaurants?
Well, I'm Zinc, Donna Curran, and we opened in 1999, so we've been around we'll be celebrating our 11th anniversary this September, which is really terrific. We love being in New Haven. When we first started our restaurant, we had the idea of changing the menu, seasonal ingredients. The first couple of months, the word on the street was we couldn't make up our mind. The notion of seasonal ingredients hadn't quite hit New Haven yet. But we are pretty firmly established now. My business partner is a chef, Denise Appel, if any of you have eaten there. Tasted her wonderful food. And don't know what else you need to hear.
That's good for now, I think.
My name also is Donna Curran, and I'm from Zinc. All kidding aside, my name is Bun Lai, and I'm from Miya's in New Haven. We're a pretty old restaurant. We've been around since '82. I work with my mother, so I'm about 55 years old, and I still get yelled at daily by my mom. But it's actually a wonderful experience because we've worked together to evolve this thing that originally was a traditional Japanese restaurant, and which now I consider to be my vision of what the future of sushi is going to look like when food is made in a way that's sustainable, and when businesses are run in a way that's sustainable. Yeah, it's a constantly evolving project where I use sushi as a medium to express and explore different ideas about what it is to be human. So.
My name's Jason Sobocinski, and I've got Caeseus Fromagerie Bistro. We've been open for about 2.5 years, and we're a cheese restaurant, but we also like to be as sustainable as possible and as seasonal as possible. Took my cues from these guys. And just be as low-key and chill as possible as well.
All right, awesome. So start off with, we're going to get a little bit of background information about you guys. So going back to the line from Dawn onwards, why did you start your restaurant? Like, what was the inspiration behind it?
I followed my husband to New Haven, and I had always worked in restaurants, and I looked around and trying to decide whether I wanted to start a restaurant. It's a rough business, and whether I wanted to own my own restaurant was a real leap. I had always said that I would never own a restaurant. It's just too hard. It's just too physical. It's hard to have a family life, those sorts of things. And but when I came to New Haven, I had taken about 6 months off, started churning around and looking around to see what was available in New Haven, and found that I thought that we could offer a little bit more. So that's why we started in New Haven.
Very nice. And then, Bun, for you, it sounds like it was more like from before your time, but like what do you think was the inspiration for your restaurant?
Well, yeah, it's not really so much my story, it's actually my mother's story, which is that she ended up here in New Haven because she followed my father, whose first job when he left Cambridge was here at the medical school, because my dad's a doctor. My mom always wanted to do business, and business wasn't something that in her generation was something that women went into and was encouraged. And my grandfather, who is one of my mom's great heroes, was a fantastic businessman, and she always looked up to him. So I think not so much as food for her, it was getting into business that interested her. And she happened to like food, and she studied nutrition like a lot of women did back in those days. And then I just kind of followed along because I wanted to help my mom out, combined with it was I always knew that I was an artist, so it was another way of expressing myself artistically, and combined with bad grades, it was like my destiny. So being here with you guys is really, my dad's gonna be proud. It's really the closest I'll get to a Yale degree ever. So.
And then for Caeseus, a very young restaurant. So, what was the motivator for you starting this up?
I actually wanted to, I had no desire to start a restaurant whatsoever. I wanted to open a cheese shop in New Haven, but after looking for several locations, I found where we are now on the corner of Whitney and Trumbull, and it just sort of made sense. The cheese is really perishable, it's very expensive, it has a very slim window where it's like at peak ripeness, and what are you going to do with all this stuff if you're not going to sell it very quickly? So the restaurant sort of evolved out of needing to use the cheese, and so that's what we cook with.
Okay, there you go. Bun, you mentioned a little bit of academic difficulty there. What kind of educational background do each of you think influenced, like in any way, if it did influence like your restaurant, or like where how you run your restaurant?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had plenty of academic difficulty, but I do come from like a really solid academic background. Meaning, like my parents both have higher degrees. You know, my dad's got a couple PhDs and an MD. They both went to world-class schools. So I grew up in that kind of environment anyway. And then I went to private schools where the classes were really small. So no matter what, I was always kind of pushed to study. But later on that base, I think I've just kind of grown into someone who's really curious about everything that there is to possibly learn. And I think I get that from my educational background, but also from my parents who are immigrants, and I think something about immigrants who come here, often if you're not coming here because of economic reasons, you're coming here because you're an explorer at heart. And ultimately that's what I am.
Okay.
And I think my education has kind of made it my destiny to do what I do in the way that I do it.
Oh, very nice. Donna, what about you? What do you think? How do you think any kind of educational background influenced it?
Aside from working my way through college, no. I mean, I worked in restaurants to pay for college.
So it was more life experience.
More
then.
life experience, absolutely.
Yeah. And how has Caeseus been influenced by it?
Well, I have a master's degree in gastronomy. It's sort of an anthropological look at food, and I think that's part of what I want to do with Caeseus, is to have people come in and have me teach them something about what they're eating. I think that like herbs or salt enhances the flavor of the food when you know a little bit of the background of where these different sort of artisanal products are coming from. So I think that's definitely enhanced it.
Yeah. And then it sounds like, Donna, you had a lot of experience coming in. For each of you, how much cooking experience have you had that's come in to influence your restaurant? Like, how much actual cooking experience do each of you have?
I don't have any professional cooking experience.
Okay.
We have
Just-
my business partner is the chef,
Okay.
and my business, my background is more business oriented, front of the house, and she does the cooking.
Yeah, I personally didn't go to culinary school. I mean, I wish I had the time to do that, but I kind of fell into the business and didn't get to do it. But I'm fortunate because both my parents are really, really into food. My dad's from Hong Kong, and that's a culture that goes and eats out all the time, and he's just food crazy to this day. And then My mother is obviously pretty food crazy too, and that's why she started the restaurant as well. So with that background, it definitely made it easier for me to appreciate food. And once I wanted to get into cooking, it wasn't hard to appreciate the craft or the art or the science of it.
How about you?
A lot of life experience. I've worked in restaurants all my life. You know, my family is really into food as well, so that was great. My mother's side of the family used to have a small, like a little Italian deli on Worcester Street, so we were always there making sausages, selling cheese, you know. And then I worked in a lot of cheese shops before coming back to New Haven.
Very nice. Onward to business tactics. I guess the big question, which you sort of answered, but like, it sounds like all of you were drawn to New Haven for different reasons, but why New Haven? Why was this, well, why did this become such a prime spot for each of you that has obviously given you such great results? I'll start with you.
Well, New Haven is sort of unique in Connecticut. I mean, you're able to live here, you're able to, it's a walkable city, you're within reach of New York pretty easily. It has a real diverse population, has Yale, has sort of an inner city life as well. I think it probably comes as close to cosmopolitan as Connecticut can get. So if you're going to be in Connecticut, I'd say stay in New Haven.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why I love New Haven is that it's small, but it's actually worldly at the same time. So, you know, you can, if you want access to like a Pulitzer Prize winner, you got it right here, and it's in a small town. If you want a world-class scientist with a Nobel Prize to talk to, you can do it right here in this town. If you need to talk to someone in the movie business, you can do it right here in this town. If you're in New York City, it's all spread out. But at Miya's, I kind of feel like, you know, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way about your restaurants, you kind of feel like you're a cultural lightning rod, because you get all these different types of people who are coming in. And not only, you know, award-winning people like that, but you go down Grand Avenue and you've got the Puerto Rican neighborhoods. You got Freddie Fixer Parade where it's all, you know, black. You know, you got all this cool stuff going on. And one of the things that's really important to me in my cuisine is to make sure that the food, the ethical, the healthy, the world-class creations that we do at Miya's is totally accessible to everybody, you know. So of every race, you know, of every cultural background, of every economic background, and you can do that and offer that in New Haven and get appreciated for it, because New Haven is so diverse.
Very nice. How about you?
Well, I'm from New Haven. I was born and raised here and lived in Fairhaven most of my life, and I just, you know, I was living up in Boston and working at a world-class cheese shop, and I saw a lot of similarities to Cambridge, where I was working, and New Haven, and thought it would fit the business model that I was trying to do, but mostly it's just because my family's here.
Come back to home.
Got to come back to home.
Very nice. So what is the most successful method of marketing that you've used? Like between versions of advertising, like word of mouth, anything? Like what has been the biggest pusher for your business?
Well, these days it's Facebook and Twitter. I mean, they are the big business drivers. We just had a contest on Facebook, make your own pizza contest. It's actually still in the works, and we were surprised by the 5,000 votes that we received. I mean, it was incredible even to us, but that is a huge driver these days. I think print ads have probably gone the way of newspapers and magazines. It's a waste of money. Word of mouth is really the only successful marketing, and Twitter and Facebook are basically amplifiers of word of mouth, I think.
Yeah, you know, yeah, I think we all believe in the same stuff, and I use all the techniques that she actually does, but ultimately I think all that stuff tangentially comes from the fact that the restaurant business, it does take tons of time, and it could be exhausting at times too, and you're not going to get super rich from doing a small restaurant at the same time. But I think what separates businesses who do well is that the kind of marketing you do, you don't even really think of it as marketing. You know, you're talking, the hours don't feel long because you're having these wonderful relationships, like earnestly and from the bottom of your heart, with the people that you work with and the people that come in. You know, I don't have like a division between like, this is my business friend, or this is work and this is life, or whatever. You know, I just kind of see everything as my life, and everyone is my family, and I think that's what ultimately our marketing comes from.
Yeah, I agree with both of those. And then for us, my decision at the very beginning when we opened Caeseus was to really never spend any money on marketing whatsoever, but to never say no when asked for a donation. So, I mean, we always have some sort of minimum donation. We give a gift certificate out for like a cheese board and 2 glasses of house wine, and we must give out 5 a week to different people that come through. And then we do a lot of big events throughout the year that I know these guys do as well, that definitely generate a lot of PR, and even just things like this. It's awesome, just connecting with you guys.
Yeah. What kind of relationships do you like personally have with your guests? Like, do you make efforts to go out into the restaurant and speak with guests who are coming through? Have like just different kind of interactions? Like what kind of relationships, if any, are there in the restaurant?
Yes to all of those things that you just said. Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's probably the most important thing that you do in a restaurant. If you're sitting in an office and paying bills or doing anything else, and and you have customers in the restaurant, then you're probably not doing what you need to be doing. Making connections with your guests, finding out who they are. I mean, it's almost like basic market research too. How did you like that dish? You know, are we performing up to expectation? Who are you? What kind of customer are you coming through our doors? All that stuff is anecdotal. Are you a student? Are you a visitor? Did you come from the lacrosse team that just had a big tournament last weekend? Did you come from DC? Did you come? So yeah, all of that is all important anecdotal information for us, and helps us form a relationship with them and hopefully give them what they come to our restaurant for.
Yeah, I agree with Donna. Yeah, I guess like the approach that I take is that it's not necessarily approach. If I were a dog, I think I'd be a lab. You know, I just love people. I'll follow anyone home pretty much. You know, I just not nothing like that. Let me retract that. But I think it helps to have that kind of nature, though. You know, just to like people a lot, and also I don't ever really want to feel like I'm actually working when I'm at Miya's. And I always kind of have the philosophy that if I were to die tomorrow, you know, not to be morbid or anything, but, you know, am I having really awesome relationships with people? And, you know, that's ultimately what I want to achieve at Miya's. I want to literally have meaningful relationships. So to give you an idea, you know, I've got a lot of best friends. I know a lot of people, but I'm working on a whole bunch of projects right now. Working on a film project, and I'm working on it with an anthropologist who was an undergrad at Yale 10 years ago, you know, and now he's done a masterate and a doctorate, and we're still buddies. I'm also working on a book right now with a buddy of mine who's a graduate of Yale, who's an ex-waiter of mine as well, too, you know. So just as examples, I mean, and it goes on and on and on. Just so many productive relationships have come out of friendships that were originally formed at Miya's. And actually, any waiter that you see at Miya's has started off as a customer first, because they appreciate the culture of Miya's. And when people actually leave Miya's to move on, they always refer somebody else, because they don't want just anybody to come in and take their spot, you know. And it's not about the money, you know. It's about how people really emotionally and with their heart feel about what it is to be a part of our family.
Not for Caeseus.
Yeah, being in the dining room during service is huge. I like to try to think and have all of our employees try to think of it more as their home. And so invite someone to your home. Don't think of it as a restaurant, you know. Wear what you want, say what you want. It creates an atmosphere when everyone's just happy. We deliberately have high stools in the upstairs dining room so that people can interact one-on-one with the servers, so they're not like being looked down on or looking up at them. That was really important. I think it creates an equality that's really nice. You know, that whole going back to explaining the food to people, that creates a dynamic that kind of breaks down those barriers. And we do a lot of special events, like on Mondays and Tuesday evenings, where we have special dinners and, you know, cheese classes, and that breaks down the barrier even more. So we really get to become friends with the people who are coming in and we're feeding, which is really important. You shouldn't dislike people that are feeding you. That's, you know, it's the one thing that you should definitely, the one service, like hate your mechanic, maybe your doctor, but definitely not the people feeding you. You should definitely love them.
And then kind of just like as a closure for business tactics, how much money does one need to start a restaurant? Like, and how do you get that money together? So I know for each of you it's been a different situation, but like, how did startup work?
Mortgage, second mortgage on house, sell everything you have, beg the bank, tell them you're different than the other 5 restaurants that they've funded and failed. I mean, it's hard. It's really hard. And particularly today, I can imagine it must be impossible. I mean, even lines of credit are impossible these days. But don't ever underestimate how much it takes to get it going. I mean, you really do need to get yourself through the first year. It's not just getting the doors open. It depends on what kind of restaurant you want to start, how much money. I mean, whether you're willing to bootstrap it, do the work yourself. I mean, there are 100 other models too, with investors and backers and points, but we didn't use any of those. We just, in our particular circumstance, we just started our restaurant, and then we started a second restaurant, Kitchen Zinc, behind it, using the proceeds from the first restaurant. So we did it probably not the smartest way.
Yeah, I know my mother actually got the money borrowed from her family and maybe even friends. Who knows? So I'm sure we owe money all around town still. But for myself, it's a constant investment. You know, restaurants are incredibly cost-consuming. So either I put more money in my pocket or I put it back into something I love. So I generally don't try to maximize, you know, how much I'm making, because I want to work on all these projects. That Miya's is really, really busy. Allows me to hire all sorts of different people to work on all sorts of tangential projects that are part of Miya's that I could never probably do in any other job, you know, because I've got so much flexibility with how I spend my money. But yeah.
Yeah, I knew a guy. Let's leave it at that. No, it's you know, combination of going and talking to every bank. New Haven has a small business association. They're useless. No, there are lots of resources out there, but without equity, you're not going to get anything. And I had a computer to my name when I started Caeseus. That was my equity. So some family support, some friends, just going around and begging people. I did learn that restaurants are not the most volatile business, though. It's actually women's boutique fashion. Could you miss one season, and that's it, you're stuck. But really, it is a lot more money than you think it's going to be to get things going. We did a lot of the work ourselves. Anyone that's been to Caeseus knows the tables are a little shaky. I built them. I'm not a carpenter. We have a lot of things that are just kind of very homemade, but I think that's important too. So it depends on what your business model is. If you want to go ultra chic, you're going to need a lot more money. I couldn't believe how much even just one glass was, or the kitchen equipment alone. It's daunting. So.
All right, so now it's like kind of the basic of the restaurant. How do you determine the price of a meal or an item of meal?
The price of a meal. Well, technically, it's 3 times the ingredients cost. Items in a meal, meaning items in a particular dish. How many items in a particular dish? That's determined by combinations of flavors, generally. I mean, you would, there are sort of a range of flavors that you want to complement each other, and you try to compose the dish based on those. Okay. I think that's all I can say about that.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right.
I'd like to comment on that real quick though, because I think it's again really situational for each particular restaurant. If you come to Caeseus, and I'll use wine for example. You might get a glass of wine from us, and it might be like $2 cheaper per glass than the same exact wine at, I'll use a restaurant that's not here, but Ibiza. But you need to look at all the costs associated, because they have 2 to 3 people waiting on you. We have 1. They've got fancy balloon wine glasses from Rydell, and we've got these old kind of scratched up ones. Yeah. They've got tablecloths. Linens are insanely expensive. Like, just those napkins have.
They're a good restaurant.
They're a great restaurant.
Yeah.
And Caeseus is not.
And Caeseus is okay. No, but we have maybe 4 guys in the kitchen, and they've got 10. So you are paying, like my friend John owns 116 Crown. If you go in there, it's visually spectacular. You're gonna pay some for that experience. So I think it's very situational when you're talking about how you cost out a dish.
Yeah, okay. That's why I said technically.
Yeah, technically. I mean, a lot of times for us, if we have 2 specials in a night, if I get a fabulous ingredient that I think is unreal and I want to use it on a special, and it's a little more expensive, and if I triple the cost, which we do as well, and it seems to be a little higher than I want it to be,
right,
then maybe I'll lower that one, but then the other special will add a little onto it, and so you have lost leaders. It's all very, very situational as far as what's going on at what time and what you're using and what your costs of doing business are.
And also for me, I have to say that I've got like a philosophical and marketing approach. The marketing would be a little bit like McDonald's, and that the low end is extremely low, and but I'm not trying to be like McDonald's. It's actually philosophical. And it's the philosophy that I want everyone to be able to afford the highest quality food that you can possibly imagine. Miya's rice literally costs 6 times more than anybody else's sushi rice. People don't really know that, because we've got quinoa in it, we've got organic oat groats in it, we've got ground flaxseed in it. Everywhere else it's just rice, sugar and vinegar. That's traditional white rice.
Yeah.
On top of it, we've got brown rice in it at the same time. The average person doesn't know that, but it really supports my belief that everyone should be able to have access to fantastically healthy food with the best ingredients. You know, we don't carry farm salmon, you know, because it's terrible for the environment, and people complain about it once in a while. Well, and say, oh, you got this cheap stuff, this Arctic char stuff. Arctic char costs twice as much as farm salmon, you know. And then when we carry wild salmon, it literally costs 5 times, 6 times as much as.
It's crazy expensive.
Yeah, 6 times as much as the farmed. Meanwhile, we've got rolls that are $3. So if you do the math, we're not making any money at all using those ingredients. But that's all right, because it supports a philosophy of being able to make great food accessible to people. And at the same time, it's fantastic marketing, because you fill the seats up and you actually spread goodwill. And we don't have a lovely restaurant like these 2 restaurants. You know, it's Miya's actually is pretty crappy looking. You know, I'm not spending a lot of money on infrastructure, but we are on all the things that you guys are, which is quality food. And then so the flip side of it is that we've got difficult dishes. So, you know, if you read on the internet, which I do now and then, people are like, yeah, Miya's has this $45 roll, you know. $45. And it doesn't cost me $15, by the way. It costs me far less than that. It's $45 because we got to go out and catch shore crabs ourselves, you know, and it's back-breaking work. And also, it's a piece of art that we're actually giving you by the time we're actually done. It takes a long time for us to produce it compared to, say, that $3 roll. So that's what you end up paying for with something that's $45.
Yeah,
That's our cost
my
structure.
highest variable is always labor.
Another question: how do you hire a chef? Like, what are the qualities that you look for whenever you're choosing someone to actually cook your food?
Race, right? Yeah. I just hire Asians. Just
Me
wanna
too.
Be completely. They're the cheapest.
Only.
We look for consistency. We look for I mean, we have a chef who is the sort of creative person behind everything. When we're hiring other people to execute that, we look for consistency, knife skills, those sorts of basic kinds of things.
Yeah, I went through many chefs over many years, and I've got the best team I've ever had. And I've literally had, you know, you name the category of person, and I've had it, you know. And I'm a bleeding heart, so I've given so many people chances. I'm a better businessman now, so my heart bleeds less. You know, I put up with less. It's once in a while, and in the past I don't hear it so much anymore, but I've heard stuff like, oh man, your guys are all Mexican. You know, these Mexican guys do a great job. You know, they work hard, and you know, and they're not expensive or whatever. And I'm like, well, I'm not hiring them because they're Mexican. It has nothing to do with it. We've had everyone else that you can possibly imagine not work out prior to them. And then B, there are no cheap people. You know, you can't have sustainable sushi like we do and not try to be sustainable in every possible way. So our guys are definitely some of the best paid people on the line that exist. I'm positive about that. But I demand a lot from them. And they're Mexican because when I hired my first Mexican chef, I originally hired him as a busboy. And he walked in, I'll never forget, with his cousins, and he didn't speak any English. And I just fired somebody. And we were banging, busy. And then his cousins were like, oh, well, when can he start? And I was like, well, if you can tell him to start like right now, that'd be great. And they're like, right now? And I'm like, yeah, just tell him right now. And so they tell him, and he looks shocked. And then I was like, well, listen, also tell him that if this thing works out, and he works hard, and if he likes it, this may change his life. And I'll tell you what happened. He's got 2 cousins working for him now, because every time I wanted to hire another chef, I taught him sushi eventually, so he went from being a bus person to a sushi chef. And then every time we got busier and I needed another chef,
You had a cousin.
yeah, I was like, hey, you want me to hire somebody? Or look for someone out of culinary school, or do you want to give someone an opportunity? And now he's like the patriarch of his house. His whole household has economically changed, and he commands tremendous amounts of respect. And it's interesting. Nowadays, like with all the media attention that we get, and it's funny because there's this wonderful girl who is great friends with a waiter of mine who's actually graduating this year, and her boyfriend's family owns Bolivia's #1 culinary magazine. So they're coming down to do a spot on us. So we're going to be huge in Bolivia. But I asked, when they take my picture, if they can take me on the line so that they can get all the other guys down in the photo as well, so they can be part of the Spanish-speaking magazine, because they're families and they will appreciate it. So I know what I'm talking about anymore, but
We've been open 2.5 years, and I'm on my 3rd chef. He's been with us since we opened. And pretty much everyone else in the kitchen is either friends of mine or his, and he and I have been friends 12, 13 years now. I think that what we look for in people who work in the kitchen is tolerance, because I'm a micromanager, but also they have to be a little crazy. Our guys work, they usually come in around 9 o'clock, and they usually leave like around midnight. So endurance, certainly. That's their choice. I've offered split shifts. They don't want them. And some of them have families, but they really love to be there, and they love what they're doing. I'm a micromanager, but I want lots of freedom. So we all meet every Monday. We plan the entire week together. Someone who doesn't want to do that, doesn't want to be part of that planning process, someone who doesn't want some freedom, someone who just wants to come in, punch a card, stand there, punch out, that's the kind of person that we weed out real quick, like within hours. So we have gone through some people. But right now, everyone that's in there is tight family, and they're all somehow connected in different ways. So I think that's what I really look for in the kitchen.
On the subject of staff, how do you hire wait staff, and what kind of training do they go through?
Wow. We hire wait staff based on their empathy, I think. How much they can immediately empathize in the interview with whoever's interviewing them. How gives us a clue as to how they can empathize with the guest. The wait staff's job's difficult because they have to almost immediately size someone up and try to figure out who they need to be for that person. Meaning, are they in a business meeting and do they really not want me to be here and they just want me to be really efficient, or am I part of the show tonight? So they have to have the skills to immediately size their customers up. And that's what we look for. The rest of it, we figure we can train. We look for a little bit of skills. Restaurant skills are nice, retail skills are okay, but empathy is the big thing we hire for. Are you a nice person? Do you enjoy what you're doing? Do you get a kick out of being hospitable, welcoming, helping people, leading them, guiding them through the menu, explaining different menu items? It's not always an easy job, so they have to get something out of it. We try to find out what that is.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think we all kind of look for the same things. Like, you can't teach care, that's something that's really important. But I don't personally hire too many of my chefs, or I don't hire anyone actually these days anymore. The employees just kind of hire each other because they know the kind of culture that they want, and they know what I stand for and live for. I think allowing that to happen has really been the best thing. Like that, I don't sit around and just interview people, and that I actually just trust the rest of the team to have the judgment to bring in the right people, and
weed out the wrong ones pretty quickly.
I'm not done with what I was saying. Yeah, and I would say just a handful of years ago, I was just, I was half the people I was letting in just kind of sucked. So, and now that I don't do it on my own, I think it's way better. We've got a higher batting average. So.
Two things, cute and single. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
I know so many guys like that too.
No, our big thing is that they have to be extroverts. I want people to talk to the customers. So if you're very shy, quiet, you're not gonna work out, most likely. But we're at the point now where most of our wait staff is brought in by our veteran wait staff. I haven't really hired anyone myself in a while. I fire them though.
And then, what do you as owners actually do on a day-to-day basis?
Well, the beginning of the week is taken up for me with payroll, bill paying, sort of accounting work. Monday's kind of a drag day. You come in, you look at what you did over the weekend, you try to get your act together, do your payroll, get yourself set up for the week, and then we have regularly scheduled staff meetings. I try to work with, we have a couple of, we have a new manager that I've been working pretty closely with on the floor at night and during the day. We do a lot of Yale business, so we have a lot of phone calls to answer, a lot of special events to book. And pretty much as it gets to the end of the week, Saturday is sort of an easy day because it's a day you come in and you're just on the floor. That's it. You don't have to worry about the office. You don't have to worry about answering the phones to book parties. You're just there. You're able to enjoy the night as it unfolds. Take reservations, make the book. That's pretty much what I do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I do a lot of that sort of stuff. I don't do any accounting stuff or bookkeeping stuff because I just can't stand it. Like I literally am not really all that interested in counting the money or any of that stuff. To tell you the truth, I just know that we're busy and that we're paying our bills. So I'm pretty psyched about that. I try to make it into the restaurant. We're only open 5 days a week, so it's not all that hard to do. We're closed on Sunday and Monday. So it's not that crazy a lifestyle. When people say that your hours are really long, well, my actual hours at the restaurant aren't all that long. I just go in for the rushes and stuff because I love seeing people and I love people. But most of my time is actually spent doing creative stuff and learning as much as possible. I pretty much live in a library, so I'm doing research all the time. Losing sleep over my new menu that I'm actually trying to roll out and kind of having a battle with. And then I'm constantly working on other projects at the same time too. And then these days, I won't do cooking lessons, generally speaking. I won't do catering. There's just so much stuff that I just won't do for money because my time is so important to me. So when I do cool things, it's like working with kids. Like I was just at the Y, showing 100 kids how to make sushi, but I wouldn't do the same for kids who went to my prep school or my middle school where it's private, where their parents could afford it. So I'm just kind of doing stuff that's cause related, and then that's perpetuating into good business, that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm at the restaurant a lot. I like to get there before anyone else. just because it's quiet, and there's a little do not disturb button on the phone, and I turn that off, and then I can kind of answer emails, and it usually starts like around 8 o'clock, and then people start rolling in around 9. So then you just get pulled in every direction, and then customers start coming in, phones ringing. There's always something going on. I try to be the last one out the door on most days. Now my brother works with me, so I've given him some responsibilities like the schedule, but I still have to pore over it because I'm not able to relinquish anything just yet. But in our third year, we're going to get a on-site sort of like bill keeper type person. But I made the agreement with my accountant that I would do all of it for the first 3 years, so I got like 8 more months to go. And then I don't have to touch any of that financial stuff again. And I cannot wait because I hate being in front of the computer. I often will go in the kitchen and cook for a little bit just to de-stress because I love being in there. But then I love being out and talking to the customers too. So it's all over. Like, people sometimes ask if they can shadow me, and often I'll just say no because I don't really know what I'm going to be doing, and most of it's inappropriate anyway. So it's just, it's like you're all over the place. We need linens. We ran out of linens, so you're going to shoot to West Haven or, ice. I'm the bus boy. I'm the errand runner, phone answer. You just do everything.
Nice. So on the subject of the menu, how often do you each change your menus? Like, is it purely seasonal? Are there other motivators that go along with it, like different cultural celebrations or anything? Like, what makes you make a change?
Our menu changes. Our menu changes too often. Our menu changes according to the whim of our chef Denise Appel. And it's generally because we've had some product move in or out of the market that we can't get, or we're looking at asparagus that came into the market early and we decide we want to use it. We want to use a particular item. This Friday we're changing 3 small plates and 3 main plates. Sometimes it's minor changes, sometimes it's major changes, but there's no real rhythm to our menu changes. They're seasonal, but it doesn't go every 4 months. It doesn't go every 3 months. You might see a dish on there this week that you won't see next week, either because it's time to come off, because that particular item's not available anymore. We have a couple of staples on our menu. We have a chicken dish that we just can't take off, and probably our tuna is the most popular on the menu right now, and that's also a staple.
Is that the fried spinach?
Yeah, the fried spinach.
So good.
And the smoked duck nachos, which
So good.
I can't get rid of either. But everything else is subject to change.
Yeah, in 2009, maybe 2008, I was changing my menu, evolving it every 2 weeks.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it was just crazy. And then 2009, I was doing it maybe every 3 weeks. And I always carried pads with me, and I'd always think about it, and I had a pad next to bed, and just new ideas coming all the time. And November of 2009, my computer broke down. I couldn't access my menu anymore, and it was the best thing that's ever happened to me, because I left it alone for months and months and months. And so it's really been the same pretty much since for the last bunch of months. And but right now I'm actually trying to roll out. I'm always trying to roll out my Mona Lisa, and I'm never really satisfied with it. But right now I'm trying to get rid of chicken on the menu. I've got a couple items. I got rid of beef altogether because I don't believe in industrial beef, and I don't really believe in eating mammals in my heart anymore. And I think ethically, the vegetarian diet is the best diet for humanity and the planet anyway. So I'm going to get rid of. I'm trying to replace my chicken dishes with emulated soy chicken thing and kind of going up the vegetarian alley on that. And I'm also talking with different people on using invasive species like the lionfish, poisonous lionfish, because it's running rampant all over the oceans, and no one's using it as a food source. So I've got a few organizations that want me to create something for them, and then for them to publicize it. And there's also a skate explosion in like the Carolinas, because the top predator, the shark, has been overfished, and I'm trying to work that, but I'm trying to work the logistics of how to get the fish to me, and how affordable it's going to be, and realistic it's going to be to do that sort of stuff. But those are just kind of tip of the icebergs of what the new menu is going to be about. So.
Cool. I disagree with everything you just said. Eat meat. No, I was a vegetarian until I was 12. My parents are hippies, so I have to rebel. But we do source all of our meat from very good places. Our chicken is a heritage breed. Our beef is grass-fed. Most of our pork is local, from right here in Connecticut. So there.
No, I'm gonna come and have a burger or something.
Hell
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
But we change our menu seasonally with the 4 seasons. We're in our spring menu right now. Wednesday through Saturday, when we're open for dinner, we do 2 specials at least every night. They always have a theme. Wednesday's raw, Thursday's wild mushrooms, Friday is Pacific halibut. Can't have Atlantic. Can't really have any fish that I've found that's really sustainable. If it comes out of the ocean, and if it's farm raised, then it's bad too. And then Saturday we do veal, and it's free range. It walks around, but then we kill it. But every day we also have a different tart. We always have a different braised vegetable every day. We have a different vegetarian soup every day. We make a different butter for our bread and butter board every day. So everything's constantly changing, and everything's made fresh. We don't have very much refrigeration and storage because most of it's taken up by cheese. So we get deliveries every day of pretty much all of our products, which is nice. It's kind of logistically a pain, but it means that we don't have to hold a big inventory, which is great. It costs a little more in some cases, but in other cases there's a lot less waste. But I think changing stuff constantly has been something that's really helped us out, and having our menu always sort of changing, because we have a lot of customers that come every day, and the regulars. There's one Yale professor that literally comes every day, and on Mondays and Tuesdays, after he eats lunch, he has us make him something to take away for dinner. He's still alive. He's gotten fatter, but he's still alive. So I would get bored. I get bored by the time the 3 months rolls around at the end of a season. I'm so sick of seeing peas underneath the chicken or in the mac and cheese. I'm like, yeah, peas, great. At the beginning, like, peas, and then you're like, peas are stupid. I hate peas. So it's always really exciting for us when we get to launch our new menu, and we like to get lots of feedback, which is also great. We typically will launch a seasonal menu, and then for the next 2 weeks, it'll be tweaked and changed, and we'll ask customers, of course, this one professor, about what they like or don't like, and they're quite frank, and so we can say, okay, cool, that's something we can do, that's something we can change, and that's fun, because who wants to do the same thing every day? That's just boring. I wouldn't know what to eat after a while. There's only so many things on our menu.
So what is your most popular dish at your restaurants?
For us, I think it's the chicken or the nachos, smoked up nachos. Yeah.
I have no idea, to tell you the truth. Never. I know, that's how bad a businessman I am. I have no idea. Yeah, I would say there's probably about 20 dishes, or our dishes aren't dishes like what you guys do. So like probably 20 different rolls that are, or little mini dishes that are really really popular. I think what stands out with surprisingly popular at Miya is the vegetarian sushi that we do, and the vegetarian sushi, by the way, is the reason why we can actually do fish that is break even, or we even lose money on it depending on what it's going to cost that week, because vegetables cost so much less, and we've got the largest vegetarian sushi menu in the world, so we're drawing all these people who are actually coming in.
I have no idea. We have I think it was a year into opening, we stopped doing handwritten tickets just because it was getting way too confusing and none of the servers had good handwriting. And we when my brother came on, he's kind of techie, and so we got this fancy touch screen and put it all in, and he tracks how many of each dish we sell, and I have no idea how it works. So, well, I could look it up and get back to you guys, but I don't know, and it's weird. You know, on any given night, you'll come in, and if you're the second seating, we'll have run out of like 6 things. Certain nights, one thing will sell really well, others something else. If I had to venture a guess, I'd say the macaroni and cheese or the grilled cheese sandwich. People like the cheese.
How do you choose your suppliers for your foods? Like what? Like are there obviously like between sustainability and just even like the types of providers that you have, just like what are the main things that will stand out that make you choose them?
What their business practices are. They have to sort of fall in line with what our business practices are. Whether you have a sense, or you know by reputation that they treat their people well and fairly, and where they get their product from, whether what they're saying is true. You have a sense of what they're saying is true, where they get their food from. And then delivery schedules, how many times a week they can deliver to New Haven. A lot of our suppliers are out of New York. I know you use Sid Wainer, right, out of Boston. I see them in front of your restaurant
Every day.
in the morning. Yeah, and they're in front of ours too. So you have to have a supplier that's dependable. When you're out of something, are they going to be able to get it to you? Are they downtown every day? So it's a balance of those. Price too. I mean, you price shop a lot. Once you find a supplier, you probably go with them for a couple of months and then shop price just to make sure you're getting the fairest price. But sometimes the fairest price isn't always the price you're paying. You know, you could suffer customer service wise too. So it's a lot of just keeping an eye on those things, balancing them out.
Yeah, we just dropped the biggest sushi fish supplier in the world, and it's been really really challenging for us because we can't get the same kind of fish that we used to get. But and the reason why we dropped them was because I went to the Boston Seafood Show, and for months and months, for actually over a year, my salesperson was like, you know what, we've got a sustainability expert in New Jersey, you know, and he's going to do this and that. And I went to the Boston Seafood Show, which is the biggest seafood show in the Western Hemisphere, and I went there with Time Magazine's Environmental Hero of the Year, who came to the restaurant and hung out with me, and we went down, and I met all these people on Greenpeace, World Wildlife, et cetera, et cetera. And then I went to the booth for our distributor, and I met the sustainability expert, and he didn't know anything about sustainability, and they had a big bluefin in their sushi case, and I just got the vibe that all they want to do is just grow as a business and just become bigger than they are, and it's just like, you know what, I'm not even going to work with these guys anymore. And I'll tell you, my food even got better because putting myself in a really difficult situation made me become much more creative as a chef again. And I created all these new dishes with all these new types of fish that I don't, that sushi, the cuisine of sushi, wouldn't usually use as fish. So basically, I'm just using that as an example just to kind of support what you're talking about.
Yeah, we use a lot of specialty. We use a lot of different suppliers. A lot of them are specialty. Like he's saying, Sid Wainer, they're astronomically expensive, but the service is there. I can probably get the exact same product from them that I can get from one of the bigger distributors, and it's going to cost me more, and I know it, but it's going to come in good shape, and we just don't have the space or the time to deal with if something comes in and isn't up to par. This is the best time of year, though, because we have about 5 different farmers that we buy direct from, that some we have to go pick up and some will deliver to us, but it's starting to roll out now slowly. Some green leaf lettuce, some little things here and there, but in another month and a half, we drop most of the big purveyors and go all local, and the price is better and the quality is better, and there's that story attached to it, which is huge because we make sure that we're really good friends with all these people who grow for us. And then as far as meat goes, we pretty much buy all of our meat from this company called D'Artagnan, and they don't use any hormones, any antibiotics on any of their meat, and then they'll go farther if you ask them and make sure to have grass-fed and as local as possible. But you do have to double check. The fish has been the hardest to stay on point with. I've switched fish purveyors several times. Everyone's trying to kind of sneak little things by you. We had a bag of mussels come in. This was a while back, and it said PEI, Prince Edward Island, Maine. Prince Edward Island is in Canada, so I was very confused to the label. So I called the purveyor up and I asked them, "Why does it say Maine?" So, well, it's kind of off the coast, closer to Maine than it is to Canada, but it's still Prince Edward Island because we're close to the island, and it was just bullshit, for lack of a better word. And there's a lot of that in food, so you gotta watch out for the smoke and mirrors, especially in higher end food. Organic, sustainable. These are marketing terms now. I think in California alone there are 54 entities that can certify something organic. So where's the regulation? What does that mean? It's very confusing. So we're constantly trying to keep an eye on our purveyors and watch them. And that's why, the more local we go, the better, because we can physically go to the farm and pick something out of the ground and take it back to the restaurant. And that's when you really don't have to do anything to it. Put some heat and some salt and some butter on it. It's done.
When you guys are putting together your dishes and everything, often you suggest wines or other kinds of drinks to go with them. How do you suggest a wine? How do you pair a wine or some other drink with a dish, and what kind of thought goes into that matchmaking?
Well, pairing wines with food is so subjective these days. I mean, some people like a buttery wine with a buttery dish. I might prefer an acidic wine with a buttery dish. We've had a couple of beer and cheese tastings that have surprised me. Jason, I'm sure you've had the same thing, right?
Yeah, beer over wine every time.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But we just try to present a varied wine list. We have probably 125 bottles on our list, so hopefully our service staff is well versed in what we have on our list, and they can determine what the guest's preferences lean toward and suggest an appropriate wine. We leave that up to the server. We train the server, and the server then leads the guest in the right direction, we hope.
Mia's is not really focused on wine. Actually, kind of threw it right out the window. I've got 2 house wines, and then I let people just bring their own wines in and pair it up themselves and stuff. And then we've got all sorts of different sakes that I create there, but I don't really try to pair anything up. The sakes each stand out in the same way that some of my better dishes stand out and can stand alone.
We have about around 50 bottles. I had a pretty clear cut plan with the wine and beer. We have more beer than wine. We don't have any alcohol liquor, just because size-wise we're just too small. We don't have enough room for any of it. But I like to pair beers with a lot of our dishes. Our servers have certain go-to beers that they can suggest for certain dishes. We do like to talk about that a lot. Our servers probably don't know the wine as good as they should, and a lot of that is my fault because I switch our list up bi-weekly. I mean, just I will find something I like and I'll bring it in and I'll throw it on the shelf and I'll, hey guys, at the pre-service meeting, this is brand new. Give it a taste. Okay, good. If you like it, cool. If you don't recommend it. We don't have a very diverse selection of wine. It's all wines that I kind of like. And we have a lot of customers come in and they want something very specific, like a buttery Chardonnay or something. I have nothing that will satisfy them. So I like to recommend something else that's nowhere near what they would even think of tasting. And maybe they like it and it's introduced them to something new, and maybe they don't, and then they kind of complain. But I just don't have the space, and I also, when it comes to getting drunk, I like very specific things. So kind of a pain in the neck with that. The food will, if you have a special request, we will gladly try to do our best to make it your way. But with the wine and beer, I kind of like what I like, and I don't like people drinking things that might overpower the food or the cheese. And so that's really an important thing. But as far as pairing goes, tell people, if it's good food and good wine and you like it, then it's right. And if you don't, then it's wrong.
It sounds like each of you go to varying extents with how much control you have over the menu. But like in your own words, how much control do you have versus the chef in what food is prepared? Or food is offered, really?
We have a kind of team approach at our place. Denise does a lot of research, our chef Denise. She does a lot of research. She does a lot of thinking about, imagining pairings and what a dish might taste like. A lot of times we'll have a chance to make it, taste it, everyone will weigh in on it. Can it be tweaked this way? Can it be tweaked that way? We have, as Jason said earlier, some dishes that stay on the menu for a week, and we decide for a variety of reasons that they're not exactly, conceptually they were much better than they are on the plate, and we pull them off immediately. We've had dishes that we have not had a chance to try, and Denise will say, oh, we have a menu change. It'll go up in the window for staff, because we always brief our staff, and they get to taste it, the new things that come on the menu. And one of us, me or some, will look at it and we'll taste it, and we'll just pull it off the menu immediately. Sometimes it never even makes it to the menu. So we have a real team approach to that. Sometimes Denise will have created something in her mind that even she's not happy with by the time it gets to the plate, and then that comes off the menu pretty quickly too. So we like to talk about it. We all have very strong opinions about dishes and what we think our customers want.
Yeah, I'll often find myself making a phone call to the restaurant and talking to a chef and being like, hey, this is the idea I have, and these are the thoughts, and this is why I created it. And then I'll come in a couple days later and be like, oh, have you guys experimented with that? And then they'll show me something that works or that doesn't work, and I, like yourself, I get opinions from everybody. And ultimately, when I've created a dish, I kind of let it evolve in everyone else's hands, because I'm not on the line. And often the way they tweak it makes it much better than what I've actually done in originally imagining it. And also, it gives the chefs a sense of empowerment too, because there's so many chefs out there, which is just a different management approach, that you do exactly the way, the plate is exactly supposed to look the way that they had originally structured it. For me, my philosophy is that I'm working with a lot of people in collaboration with other people. And the only reason why I don't have a dish by one of my other chefs is because no one has actually created a dish that can that's actually on the level that it should actually make the menu. But I'm excited to see something that a chef would one day create and put on our menu.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, we have a kitchen meeting every Monday and plan out the whole week worth of specials. But then every day, depending on what comes in and what condition it's in, things change. Our food isn't super complicated. We like to just highlight ingredients over techniques. I'll often have an idea, give it to the guys in the kitchen, see what they come up with. You know, everyone has a little bit of a input in it. I have got 2 rules: no squiggles, no foam. That's just not our style. That's all. It's just not something I want to see on the plate. You know, we try to limit. The other kind of loose rule is a sort of a limit to how many ingredients are going to go into a dish. You know, keep it around 5. If you have to get up to 7, okay. But make the dish about a particular ingredient and highlighting that ingredient, not you.
And then finally, what would each of you order if you were eating at your restaurant? Like, do you have a particular favorite dish? Do you have a particular, just any kind of like real favoritism towards something?
It changes, luckily. Mine's the chipotle pork shoulder right now. It's really good and spicy.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I eat at Miya's, 4 or 5 times a week, and I always eat like a humongous salad or two, because it's one of the best things I think that we do, especially as you're talking about in the season that we're moving into. You know, we've got 3 different farms, including the Yale farm, that supplies us with all these different incredible vegetables. I love our miso soup, and then I'll always have a few pieces of sashimi fish. And I just really keep it simple. I definitely don't stay away from the potato skin infused with Arctic char bone, topped with Havarti cheese, with Asian shortbread. I don't go crazy. I eat really, really simply, and which is just a reflection of how I eat at home too. So.
Same. I like to go into the kitchen and see if there's any fries in the bowl. That's my number one thing. I mean, if somebody messes up and undercooks or overcooks a hamburger, I'm right there. I'm ready to go. Burnt grilled cheese, they know to call me down to the kitchen. I will eat the burnt grilled cheese and in a heartbeat. And then beets. I'm a beet fanatic. We always have beets on our menu in some form, so I eat beets every day. So always just go grab, pick. I don't think I've sat down and had a meal at Caeseus ever, but I like to go into the kitchen and see what's been burnt, or that French fry bowl, man. Damn, they're good. Yeah, that's my. I dream about them.
And then finally, just any questions from the audience? Anyone? Great.
Hi, my name is Matt, and I've had the opportunity, no, the privilege to fancy all of your establishments. But my question is, how did you come up with the names of each of your establishments?
Mine's Latin for cheese. And I was really criticized when we first opened because everyone was like, no one knows how to say it, no one knows what it means, and so therefore you're going to confuse people. And it was sort of along the business line, the whole idea is it's a conversation starter. No one knows how to say it. I mean, most people call us Caeseus, So we get to have the opportunity to tell them how we say it, and not correct them, but just say, oh, well, we call it Caeseus. And then we get to explain to them what it is, and therefore, right off the bat, right in the name, we're teaching people something. So that's kind of cool, I think.
Mine was named by my mother after my little sister, shortly after she was born, because that's when the restaurant opened up. And but now that I'm in power, next year you'll see the name. It'll be Bun, but it won't be Bun. It'll be Buns. And then I'm gonna steal the Underalls logo, so it'll just be an ass with my name above it.
Zinc is a traditional bistro material. When we first saw the empty storefront, it was long and narrow. They had just put on a mahogany and new glass storefront, and it reminded us of a traditional French bistro. And the guy who owns the building is called Georges Zadru, and he had put Z door handles on the restaurant, so it seemed like a no-brainer.
Anyone else? Questions? All right, well, I guess that's it. Thank you guys very, very much for coming and answering our questions. It was a pleasure to have you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.